Right-wing celebrity and Twitter douchebag Kyle Rittenhouse is back in the news this week and facing legal jeopardy once again.
Lawyers were finally able to serve Kyle Rittenhouse with a wrongful death lawsuit. As I'm sure everybody remembers, that of course is the protest that Kyle Rittenhouse traveled across state lines. He was 17. He had the high-powered assault rifle.
In 2020, Rittenhouse traveled across state lines with an AR-15 style rifle.
He crossed state lines. False.
Traveled across state lines.
Rittenhouse traveled across state lines with an AR-15 style rifle.
Kyle Rittenhouse crossed state lines. And then usually you hear with an illegal gun, which turned out not to be true.
How is it that this young man, who immediately tried to turn himself in, was portrayed as a murderer who crossed state lines to kill, when he crossed that state line almost every day to work and visit his father and friends?
The vast majority of the people I talked to who didn't agree with the verdict also had no idea about the facts that actually happened in the case, because a vast majority of them truly believe that Kyle illegally carried a firearm across state lines. That's not true. He didn't do that at all.
It's actually quite hysterical how nobody can go back and look at the facts of the case. He crossed state lines. False.
This is insanity. And by the way, the continuous references to crossing state lines are not insignificant. Legally, they're meaningless. You have a right to cross state lines if you're an American because it's your country. You can, in fact, go to all 50 states and you're not breaking a crime.
Traveled across state lines. He was 17. He had the high-powered assault rifle, and he ended up killing 2 people.
He acted in self-defense.
Rittenhouse traveled across state lines with an AR-15 style rifle to quote-unquote keep the peace in a community he didn't live in.
Rittenhouse didn't go to Kenosha looking for trouble. His father lived there. Rittenhouse himself worked as a lifeguard in Kenosha.
In a community he didn't live in.
Again, you're from Antioch. You're not living in Kenosha at this time when this all happens, right?
My dad lives in Kenosha.
Rittenhouse was drawn to Kenosha after protests erupted following the shooting of Jacob Blake, a black man, by a police officer who went uncharged.
Jacob Blake was armed with a knife during a struggle before he was shot.
Officers are now keeping their distance. They're at gunpoint. And that's because officers have told us and DCI that they all, at that point, had seen him with a knife.
But Rittenhouse didn't want to just be a spectator. He wanted to be police. So Rittenhouse took the law into his own hands, shooting 3 protesters and killing 2, including Anthony Huber.
And killed Anthony Huber with another shot after Huber had hit him with a skateboard.
In retrospect, it's remarkable just how dishonest, how thoroughly and intentionally dishonest the media coverage of the Kyle Rittenhouse story turned out to be. He never crossed state lines with a firearm.
Police then allowed Rittenhouse to head home without so much as detaining him, even though Rittenhouse tried repeatedly to surrender to local law enforcement.
But you couldn't even turn yourself in.
No, it was like I had to go to Antioch Police Department, which, to my understanding, is the closest police department to Kenosha.
Since his acquittal, Rittenhouse has become a right-wing media hero. He worked with Fox News ghoul Tucker Carlson as both a frequent guest and a personal friend. At the time, Carlson stoked the flames of controversy when he lovingly referred to Rittenhouse as a sweet kid who should be running the country.
During the course of our long conversation, Kyle Rittenhouse struck us as bright, decent, sincere, dutiful, and hardworking. Exactly the kind of person you'd want many more of in your country.
He lovingly referred to Rittenhouse as a sweet kid who should be running the country.
Bright, decent, sincere, dutiful, and hardworking. Exactly the kind of person you'd want many more of in your country.
Wrongful death suits have the potential to wipe out defendants financially.
He's already set up a fundraising campaign on his Give, Send, Go.
So Kyle Rittenhouse is doing what he does best, begging his right-wing Twitter fans to send him money. There are plenty of far-right wingnuts who think of Kyle Rittenhouse as a folk hero because he gunned down 2 progressive protesters.
He acted in self-defense.
Now he's hoping that money will be enough to save him once again. Even though the American people are by now well aware that his crying on the stand was just an act.
The lies that they can just get away with spreading is just sickening, and it's a disgrace to this country.
Now he might actually, maybe, have to face some consequences. I guess it happens, you know, it might happen when you shoot and kill people.
He acted in self-defense.
I am your voice.
You ask any of these people, these especially the athletes and celebrities tweeting out about this case, ask them to name 2 out of the 3 people who Kyle shot. Just 2 out of 3, even one. I'll take 1 out of 3. If they can't answer those questions, they should shut the hell up about this case. They shouldn't have an opinion. They didn't watch it.